Hello and welcome to Down the Slope. I'm Ewan, and this week I'm joined by Hibs Instagram and Twitter and Lewis Forfar Pitchside Camera Celebrities. Harry, how you doing?
Mate, being honest, I'm feeling a bit weird. You've not got the beard on. For anybody listening on Spotify, Ewan's always got a marvellous beard, and it takes a while to readjust. You look a bit like, I don't know, you don't look Scottish, you look foreign. I can't place which country in Europe you look like you're from.
I look at, do you know what, actually, I don't like this at all, and I'll probably get a slagging, and if anyone listens, go and look at it. Do you know in Modern Family, is it Cam? No. I've just been staring at myself in the camera while we've been like chatting before we started recording. I'm like, oh fuck, I need the beard back. And I need to lose the weight that I'd lost in lockdown and piled back on since the pub started again. Liam, you also got front and centre on the Instagram yesterday. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, thank you, mate. I got some unwanted attention on Facebook and Instagram. It actually turns out it's a boy that took the photos. Cameron Allen. I used to work with his dad. Someone tagged me in the photo on Facebook later on in the day. It was a nice surprise. So I believe that I'm getting a copy of the photograph, which I'll be very pleased with. I'm not too enamoured with my facials in it, I must say. But
I think it's class.
Good. The image is good. I think the Hibs taught me obviously see where I am, and a wee tricolour in the background never hurt anybody, did it? So all good.
Right, so before we get into Derby, we were all there yesterday, and Greg should have and was hoping to be with us, but it was his first day back in the office today, and he's chasing his tail, so unfortunately he'll be back next week. We were all at the Derby yesterday, so we didn't really cover the women's game on the podcast, but another good win, 6 points out of 6, no goals conceded, 4-0 victory away to Motherwell, and Rachel Boyle's been called up to the Scotland squad. Harry, good news all round, really, isn't it?
And top of the league, can you knock it?
Now, is that top or morally top?
Mate, top. We're that good. We're both.
top. I think we're the only team with 100% record that's played 2 games. I think Rangers played 1-1-1, but nobody, anyone else that's played 2 league games so far had only 1-1 and drawn 1. Although that was last night when I seen the table. I don't know if there's a game today or something like this. That's why Rangers hadn't played. Right, Derby 0-0 away to Hearts. Before we dive into it, Harry, were you happy with the end outcome?
It's one of those ones. Before the game, I probably would have said I wanted to win, but based off how the game went, I'll definitely take the draw. I think it was a fair reflection on the match. I think there was moments of the game where Hearts were in full control, and I think there was moments where Hibs were in full control. It was a story of 2 goalkeepers that both had absolutely brilliant performances. We'll come on to that a bit later. But yeah, on the grounds of Abraham, I'm not raging, I'm not disappointed. However, to be fair, after the game, I went down to the shops and got a couple of bottles of champagne and booked a limousine to take me back to my flat. And then I booked a holiday to Greece just so I could go and celebrate the draw at Tynecastle. Because if you clap players off a pitch after you've paid 30 quid to go and see them, that's a full-blown celebration. So I went all out afterwards, mate. Hangover's still banging.
Why would you mention bottles of champagne? We know that Hibs and not winning games and bottles of champagne have got a rather bad twinge for them now. Liam, what about yourself? Just as the game as a whole, happy enough with a point or missed opportunity?
First of all, it was a really good game of football. I'm struggling to remember very many 0-0s I've been to that would be better than that in terms of entertainment. I think just the nature of it being such an end-to-end game, obviously it's incredibly high stakes for both teams going in with an opportunity to win the league. I think we probably edged it in terms of chances, and I think we had more shots to target than they did. Hearts, I would say, not to be too conciliatory, but Hearts probably had slightly better of the possession, but only slightly better. But the game ebbed and flowed as well. To just throw another cliche in there, like it wasn't like it was just totally end to end. There was periods of, I wouldn't say dominance for either team, but there was definitely periods of superiority for one team over the other. So it was just a really good game of football, very watchable, and I fairly enjoyed myself.
I would agree. I don't know what it was going into the game. I don't know if it was the 12 o'clock kick-off or whatever, something like that. But I just I didn't have the usual element of shite in myself, and I don't know if that tends to be I don't know if the nervousness at the game increases depending on the volume of alcohol that I've consumed prior to the game. Like, because during the game I was still fairly relaxed. Obviously, Hearts did have a decent chunk of the ball, but we definitely started well. What did you make of the team selection to start with? And we were obviously all went to walk to the game together and stuff like that. We all thought maybe it was going to be 4-4-2 or 3-5-2, but it was almost like 3-4-3 with James Scott, almost like a false 9, number 10 position, Harry. What did you make of that?
Being honest, I was kind of confused by James Scott's performance. It was definitely the worst he's looked for Hibs, and I think he just looked out of place. Whatever his position was, I don't think he looked comfortable. I was absolutely bamboozled by the team selection. I did not see that coming. I'd fully set my brain on McGuinness not playing, so him being in was a breath of fresh air, even if he maybe didn't show it to the best of his ability. And then Cadden being back was magic. I think upon reflection, I think that the changes he made at halftime was probably the team we should have started with, because I think we looked a lot more comfortable in the second half than we did the first half. But I don't think it was a bad team selection by any stretch.
Liam, what about yourself, team selection wise?
You're smarter than me, because I just thought that he was going to bring Cadden in and play him sort of hold the midfield, because I understand he played there a wee bit for Motherwell in the past, so I thought it was kind of Cadden straight in for Doyle Hayes, and he was going to play in a 4-2-3-1 with Scott off the left. That would give us that kind of necessary, required energy, I suppose. But it was a very different looking team from the one that I expected. Echo Harry's sentiments on James Scott, and I've seen quite a lot on that in the last 24 hours, and I think less than him looking like a fish out of water, I'm just struggling to pinpoint anything that he did in the first 45 minutes, other than the odd wee poor touch here or there. I just thought he was pretty ineffective, and it looked like he was kind of being asked to play a role that was unfamiliar to him, which is maybe fair feedback. It is unfamiliar to him, or an unfamiliar system. So the way the team is set up, I can't have too many gripes, too many complaints. I do think we sometimes see the best of Paul McGinn playing on the right of the back three as well. I thought in particular the first 45 minutes, I thought was as good a defensive performance as I've seen from Paul McGinn in his time at Hibs, and he has been typically very good defensively. I lost count the number of interceptions, number of blocks, number of not last ditch challenges, but those challenges that are in and around the box that he made. I thought he was absolutely terrific first half, and good again second half. But the system did bamboozle me a wee bit, and I just wonder, Hearts set up in a 3-4-3, haven't they, typically this season? Wonder if we're setting ourselves up just a wee bit to counter their system rather than kind of sticking to our own game. But not criticism, just a thought.
Yeah, I think it probably it's an interesting one, because they're coming off the international break as well, and it's quite the fact that we're talking about it, I would say it was a big change. You know what I mean? It wasn't like going from 4-2-3-1 to 4-4-2. Like, it went 3 at the back, sort of still 3 up top. Like, I don't think we'd have changed if Jake Doyle Hayes was fit. But then also, I'm like, if that's a big change, so I'm like, did we work on that through the break? You know what I mean? And would it have just been a case of we played that, but with McGuinness higher up the park? You know what I mean? And because the big surprise for me was Cadden playing, who I thought was very, very good, and especially factoring in the fact he hadn't kicked the ball since March, April time. To come in and play was about 85 minutes he'd played. I was really impressed with him. James Scott, I thought, when we were on the ball, I thought he was fine. The first chance of the game, I think he played a part in that. When we worked it very, very well from deep, and Cadden let the ball in, and Nisbet just sort of squashed the shot. Must think it might even have been inside 10 minutes. It was a real, real good move, and he played a part in that. But he did look like a striker playing in midfield. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think in the first half the front three, especially, but Scott mainly, he didn't offer anything coming backwards. I think that's what was causing Hearts. I felt able to get on the ball really easily after that sort of first 15-20 minutes, probably when they'd sort of sussed out our formation. Which I think they've probably prepped for us in a 4-2-3-1, and then we've turned up and done something totally different. It definitely felt like it took them a little bit of time to adjust to that, but then they did. We got totally overran. Would I think it'd be, if you were to split it down into, say, 20-minute period and a 25-minute period in the first half, Harry, would you agree that Hibs probably had the better of the first 20 minutes?
I think that's a bit generous. I think after about 15 minutes, Hearts took control of the game, to be honest. I think you're spot on. I don't know if it was the pressing system in the new formation, but I felt that after they started coming down the right side, we were always missing a central midfielder to help out on the wing, because Cadden was the way it was set was McGinn was like the near corner of the box before when they were running into the box, and then Cadden would take it if they came down the line. So then if they bring another player over, obviously you need the other midfielder, but we didn't have that other midfielder, so nearly the whole entire half they had like a 3v2 situation, and that's why it's such a testament to Paul McGinn. That I agree with Liam as well. I think that was his best performance in the Hibs top that first half. I thought it was absolutely immaculate defensively anyway. But yeah, I think as soon as we changed the system, we looked a lot more comfortable out of possession.
At any point in the first half, Liam, did you? There was I think maybe a period where Hearts had 3 or 4 corners on the spin, but like, did you feel under any real pressure? I didn't feel like they really cut us open at any point.
Nah, it's easy to say with hindsight, but no, I didn't. And I think a lot of that leads to the fact I didn't really feel like they ever got in behind us. Everything was kind of in front of us, even when they did have the ball. I think a lot of that's to do with, I don't think they've really got that kind of creative spark in their team who can open those kind of doors yet. I think Woodburn's potentially a player, if they play him in the right position, we might be able to do that for them, but I don't think they're a technically proficient side yet. I think they're still very much a work in progress, as most clubs are, but there's a lot of guys in that Hearts team who can win the ball back, but most of what they do after that is pass the ball sideways or backwards after they've won it back. So I wasn't too concerned. I remember the flurry of corners, and then I thought just after that flurry of corners, it was probably a really short spell, but it felt longer. There was like 2 or 3 minutes after that, just towards the end of the half, I felt like we started to then wrestle back momentum a wee bit, which then kind of played into the beginning of the second half, where I think we definitely started the stronger team at the beginning of the second half. So yeah, there were things about that were, I think when it's a sustained period of pressure, you're always going to feel a bit of tension. But did I feel like a goal was coming? No, I didn't. And I thought Paul Hanlon being back in the defence on the left of the three, I've already talked about Paul again. I thought Paul Hanlon brought an assuredness back into the team. I don't think it was a perfect performance yesterday, but it was a very good performance. I think that just needs to be recognised, how much more settled the defence looked to him back in the team.
Yeah, and I guess ultimately another clean sheet scored as well after we did first clean sheet away from home in the league this season after looking fairly suspect at Motherwell and Dundee, so that's definitely a positive. Harry, towards the end of the half, we did have sort of one decent chance from Boyle and one sort of long range shot, and ultimately that almost cancelled out everything that Hearts had done, because again, Hearts were limited to shots from outside the box in the first half as far as I'm concerned, and we've said it enough, Hibs are a threat on the counter-attack. And did you feel like we'd done enough on the counter-attack in the first half?
I felt like we just really struggled to get our foot on the ball as soon as it hit the 20-minute mark. As we did get a few times on the break, but I wasn't convinced. I hope we don't go for that system again. I don't think the players looked comfortable in it at all. I think McGuinness in midfield, especially because he had too much of the field to cover, I don't think that he was really effective as he has been this season so far. He got himself in a good few positions in the second half in terms of attacking, but I wasn't convinced by his performance. I thought Joe Newell was absolutely exceptional though. I think that I'm glad he's back in the team. I think that, sorry for not really answering the questions, I've just got thoughts that I'm going for them. Hanlon and Newell being back in the team
much more happened in the
for
second
us.
half anyway.
I know, definitely. But yeah, no, first half I wasn't particularly convinced. I'll stop answering questions that you're not asking.
There's Harry at the beginning of the podcast saying, give me structure, and he just fucking comes in with a fucking bazooka and blows it all apart. Any structure.
I wanted structure, but I also want to talk about what I want to talk about. Come on, I can't do that.
I like the best of both worlds. I like having my cake and eating it. No, I think you're right. I think there was more talk about the second, and there were probably more memorable saves in the second half. The Macy one where it's, you're going to have to forgive me because I've not watched the highlights, but the Macy one where it's a cross goal when he gets a hand to go and back across goal.
We've still got a couple of minutes till we get there.
Fucking hell. Timeline of events.
No, the one thing I did want to bring out just before we move into the second half, the one time Hearts did potentially get in behind, Paul McGinn apparently committed GBH on Liam Boyce according to Hearts Twitter. Are you having a fucking laugh? How can anyone... Ultimately, I think it's a soft free kick for Hibs to get, but as far as I'm concerned, Paul McGinn gets his body in front of Liam Boyce between him and the ball, and Liam Boyce pulls him down.
Can I just say, if you think that's a red card, that is absolutely pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. If you think that's a red card.
Oh, that's getting clipped and sent to him, by the way.
In all honesty, I don't think. If I'm being honest, I don't think it's a foul either way. In all honesty, I don't. And Boyce probably could have got up and scored if the ref hadn't blew his whistle. But if he is given a foul, and the player that initiates the contact, Liam Boyce. The only reason Liam Boyce gets brought down is because he trips and then pulls down Paul McGinn. Like, I don't understand how you can watch that back on countless occasions and still think penalty and red card.
The thing is, for me, if you're a Hearts fan and you've come to the conclusion that it's a red card, then obviously you've got the maroon tinted specs on. You do you. If you're a neutral and you see that and you think that's a red card, then simple fact is you're an idiot. You're an idiot that doesn't know anything about football.
You've only said this so we can clip this and said it to a couple of minutes.
Nah, it's definitely never a red card in a million years, though. It's like Port just literally gets about 7 of those fouls a game. If that stops being a foul, we are absolutely screwed.
It's one of them, though. You see it all the time, and it reminds me of, I think wingers do it effectively all the time as well. If a winger's driving and they've got the full back behind them, they cut across them, 9 times out of 10 they get clipped, free kick. Right? It baffles me. And the Hearts, see the poster the Hearts fans have designed, like the wanted sign, wanted picturing Nick Walsh for crimes against refereeing. I honestly thought he was all right. I didn't think there was that much going on in the game, to be honest. That, I think probably testament to the football that was being played compared to what we normally see at Tynecastle, like what we were saying last week. I didn't think it was as smash bang wallop as normal.
No, I think Nick Walsh has got a reputation for being a referee that lets quite a lot of things go, and I thought he lived up to that reputation yesterday, to be honest. I thought he did let a lot of things go. There's a few niggly fouls in that, the counter-attack, and I think there's a couple that maybe either team is in transition and there was an obvious foul that was trying to stop the transition where you could probably say by the letter of the law it should have been a yellow card, but I thought it was an alright referee performance. We've seen much worse performances in the Edinburgh Derby at Tynecastle for referees. There's a library of shockers. Aye, but there has been a library of shockers. I'm not trying to say it's all been one way, but there's been some games where the referees just completely lost control. I'm thinking about like kind of evening kickoffs, later at night, and
like Canberra sending off.
That's the one that comes to mind immediately when I think about that situation. So I'm kind of remiss to give the referee a hard time, because let's be honest, I've bashed the referees in every single episode they've done so far this season.
Probably the best referee performance we've had this season.
Aye, I'd say so.
Right, so can I throw one more tangent in before we move on to the second half?
Fucking hell, what about structure?
Just genuinely, when was the last time we went to Tynecastle and it was a sunny day? I actually can't remember the last time I've seen the sun whilst at Tynecastle. Genuinely.
Do you know that?
Sunday's the shining Gorgie, mate.
Was it sunny on Boxing Day a couple of years ago? I don't know. No.
That was horrid. I was thinking. That was snow on the walk in.
Was it? I only had a jumper on, so...
Mate, you were steaming at your nut, probably.
Good point. I can't... That's a good question. I feel like we always get them... I feel like we always go to Tynecastle in the middle of fucking winter.
I feel we get a lot of night games at Tynecastle as well, like during the week and that, or at like Christmas time it'll be one of the night games instead.
Because all the Scottish Cup games are like February time. They were minging days. Good point. Don't know what relevance it has, but
it's just been bugging me for a few days. Anyway, you structure away, mate.
Half time came and went, and Alex Goggins came on for James Scott. And I'm going to be fair here. So we were with Greg's uncle, who's the biggest anti-Alex Goggins fan in the world, and he was very positive with Goggins coming on, saying, no, it's the right change, etc. He also said he was going to get Goggins tattooed on his arse if he scored the winner. I think his arse was doing buttons when he hit that shot, to be fair. But what did you make of that change? Do you think Jack Ross got that right? I think most people would have to think he did.
In hindsight, aye. At the time, I wasn't fucking amused.
Oh, really? I thought it made sense. I really did.
I think there's a bit of recency bias in there for me, because Gogic's last performance was against Dundee, and probably to call it a performance would be, probably overly flattering. But he did well, Gogic, when he came on.
Did you think there was an alternative?
I think I would like to see us play that same system, but we brought Jamie Gullen on for James Scott.
Right, okay.
I think that's Gullen's. That for me, that's Gullen's position on the left of a front three.
No, that's fair, yeah.
Didn't happen.
So shifted to the back four. Shifted to the back four at half time as opposed to later on in the game, and Gullen and just sort of back to the formation that we've been used to seeing. I think that. So, but how
would have done that before it hit.
Would we have been able to do that with taking James Scott off?
I think so. Well, let's be honest. I think the alternative was, and the shouts around me were all bring Scott Allen on from multiple different sources.
I'm just trying to think of what the team would have been. Try to think if we'd taken James Scott off for Jamie Gullen. We'd have had that we were playing in the first half.
Aye.
But James Scott was playing in number 10 first half.
Was he? I think he was left at the three.
I think he was left at a free, and I'm sure
I had him playing like really
3-4-3. He was left at three. I think he was picking up a lot of space end. I think most of his touches, but I say most of his touches, I don't think he had many touches of the ball. But we'll need to get a heat map out. We'll need to get one of our analytical friends to draw us up a heat map and tell us where they're playing.
Aye. Anyway, Gogic came on. There's no point in talking about what he could have done. I think the change did help. Liam, you said you thought we started the second half well?
I did think we started the second half well. And I'm going to give some credit to Alex Gogic, because I think a lot of people getting on his back. He did what Alex Gogic does well, and he picked up second balls and he passed the ball to someone else who can play football.
Right. I think there was one occasion when he passed out of play, but ultimately he got given the worst pass in the fucking world with about 15.
It was a shocker.
Shocker.
There was folk hounding him for that as well. I was like, get a rest, man.
See, the thing that was so frustrating with that is the same with the Dre Wright situation. As soon as Gogic or Dre Wright does the first thing they do, it's always wrong. And then for that, the rest of the game, they just get dogs abuse, and the rest of the game they're pissed because they put one pass out. But that was a stinkery pass there from Porteous. Porteous had an absolutely banging game, but he should never have put that ball. You don't give Gogic the ball when he's got his back to the opposition goal and he's got a guy on his back. Like, oh, that's horrible.
Well, actually, I think we probably did start the second half well, but again, probably only for 5 minutes or so. Then I felt Hearts probably edged it again till about the 70th minute. But ultimately, the first real good chance of the game fell to Hibs. In fact, I'm not going to say what I was going to say there because I don't want to be that much a cunt, but John Suter gave the ball away at the edge of his own box, and Tom McGuinness probably really should have done a bit better with that chance. He sort of squashed it right down Craig Gordon's throat, didn't it, Harry?
It's frustrating because in that situation, I think the obvious thing to do is you just smack it as hard as you can across the goal, because then the best thing Gordon could do is palm it away. The worst situation there is the keeper can catch it. That shouldn't be an option. McGuinness has done a brilliant season, and I don't think he was terrible by any stretch yesterday. But with his positions he got himself in, he should have got at least a goal or at least an assist. He's made the right decision, but the execution was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, he's done well to shift it back onto his stronger right foot, Liam, and then that was it. Like mine and Greg, me and Greg were sitting at that side, obviously he's at the other side of the stand, but when he shifted it back on his right foot, I fully expected the net to burst. If I could have probably picked anyone this season to have that chance, I would have probably taken him, to be honest.
How easily does he beat Craig Halkett as well? It's good ball control, but he just Craig Halkett's miles off it. He creates such a good position for himself. I think so often those chances are missed because players don't take a good first touch and don't create an opportunity for himself. The frustrating thing for me there is, the old cliche is almost done the hard bit already. I think that shows again. I think what Kyle McGuinness demonstrated yesterday is just how versatile he is, because I thought he was good in the deeper role. He was very good at picking up the ball. No, you're not having it. I thought he was good in the deeper role yesterday. I thought he smashed into a few challenges, came through that, but then he got pushed further up, and
it was much better.
It's frustrating because he could have scored.
I thought he was really good in the second half, but in the first half, I thought he gave 8. I didn't think he was great. There was a couple of points in there. I thought he just got caught on the ball. Maybe it's credit to Hearts, but no, there was just one point sticks out in my mind. the ball's come to him and he's just tried to turn on it back to goal, and he's just been totally robbed of it. And I want to say Hearts got a shot away. I think Mackay Steven might even hit the target. Messi made it was definitely a TV save, but it wasn't that he was bad. It's just he's nowhere near as effective, I don't think, when he's deeper. I think that you've seen a big change in the way we played when he was further at the park. After the McGuinness chance came, for my money, Hearts' only chance from open play in the game. Felt like almost 30 seconds to a minute later, Mackay Steven was worked in on goal on a tremendous save from Matt Macy.
The Ginnelly one after that's probably a chance as well, to be fair, if it's a better heading of the ball than Josh Ginnelly. I think Macy makes the save look better than it is. I think it's a pretty comfortable save. But the Mackay Steven one's an outstanding save across goal, far end. Mackay Steven's done all the right things in some senses, but it's just a really good save for Macy. And then the Ginnelly one at the back post, which, to be honest, I think that falls to someone that's not a winger.
Watching the highlights back as well, if he goes across goal, then even if he doesn't score, it's a tap in for Boyce. That is a sitter. That to be fair, I forgot about that. That is a sitter, that one, to be fair. But Harry, the Mackay Steven chance, you were just like McGuinness, I would say. When he gets into that position, I was like, fuck. I was just expecting it to go in the back of the net.
Yeah, I don't know who's at fault there. I thought Doig got beat a few times, but with the way that the ball was played, it was just a good ball through, to be fair. I think it was just better attacking than it was poor defending.
He ran off the back of Gogic, but I would probably say that the fullback should be seeing them. You know what I mean? Tucking in.
But me and Liam had a moment because Liam was only about 4 rows behind me, and as soon as he saved it, I turned around and we made eye contact, and we both just kind of nodded. Good save.
I think you gave me the old the divers at AOK side, and I can't remember what I did back here. I don't know. I would have been giving you some kind of like strange creepy look, no doubt, because that's not what I do when I'm bevy.
I think you tried to give me like a self-assured nod to be like, it's all going to be okay, and it was just an absolutely panic like But yeah, no, it was brilliant. I've said a few times on the pod, these guys haven't been too convinced. I think that he's now, but I think we have got a very good keeper on our hands with Macy. I think that all the problems we had with Marciano in terms of distribution are still there. I think Macy has to improve on collecting corners, especially considering his height.
Yeah.
But in terms of shot stopping, I don't think he's far off Marciano at all. So I don't think we've downgraded too much.
I'm hands down the biggest, or have been the biggest skeptic, hands down so far. And I think for all the reasons that you've outlined, I think some of that skepticism has been justified. But I said it tail end of last season, what's the most important attribute in a goalkeeper? It's shot stopping ability. And he did that yesterday. I think one really outstanding save that we just talked about from Mackay Steven, and then a couple of really good saves. And there's some things around his game that I think could be sharpened up, but I think he's in the right place to help him nurture that. And I think the fact that he's actually playing games will make a massive difference. Look at his career Wikipedia page. He played like 30 league games or something before he joined Hibs. So the guy is playing football at a club who, he's going to be the number one goalkeeper for this season at the very least. If he continues to play games at the age, 26 is he? That's a really good age for a goalkeeper, and it can only be a good thing. So I think there's even potentially, if we continue to help him hone his craft, that there might actually be some sell-on value in him as well at a later point. But anyway, I'm not wishing away just yet. I just want him to stay and continue doing what he's doing, because he's been good.
And after the Mackay Steven chance, Harry at Hibs continued, they switched to 4-2-3-1. Cadden went out to left wing, Boyle right wing. Again, it's off on us, but Paul McGinn out to right back. And that, I felt like that definitely helped, and we created a good number of chances after this. I think the majority of these were before the Ginnelly header, but the next one that really does stand out is, there's the two almost identical situations. One of them where Boyle cuts it back and it ends up at Gogic's feet to rattle into the side netting, and then Nisbet cuts it back from almost the same position to Kyle McGuinness. Firstly, the Gogic chance, how much would you lost your shit, and then actually talk to us about the second chance?
Yeah, genuinely, there's a good chance if that goal had went in, I wouldn't be on the pod because I'd been lifted after that. Like I'd have been on the pitch hugging him. You wouldn't have been able to stop me after all the flack he's got this season. That is Papa Gogic. That's my guy. My mate who I went to the game with was like, Harry, I was ready to rugby tackle you to the floor to make sure you didn't do anything stupid as soon as that went in. And I was like, I didn't blame you. But yeah, no, it was such a good strike. It was his weak foot as well, if I'm not mistaken. It was his left foot. And because the angle I was front row, so the angle I was at, like, you know, when the ball goes in the back of the net after a hard shot, and the black pole that stands up to steady the net, and that shook. So my heart like leaped through my chest because I actually thought it was in, and then as soon as I heard the ball bounce, I was like, "Oh, nightmare!" So yeah, that was absolutely gutting. And obviously, I hate to praise Hearts players, but that's a top class save from Craig Gordon for that McGuinness chance. I don't think there's, like I was saying, I don't think McGuinness can get any more power on that shot. I think if it's a striker, you might want him to do better, but I think he's done well to get that on target, and I think it's just a very good save from Gordon.
It wasn't the best cutback in the world to him, was it, from Nisbet, Liam? I think he has sort of tried to disguise it, I think, as that he was maybe going to shoot, and he's sort of coming at him definitely off the ground. He's sort of going in at full pace. I think he could have done better with it.
Do you think McGuinness could have done better with it?
Well, both of them. Aye.
I don't think McGuinness can do a whole lot more of the way the ball's played to him, to be honest. We all know how difficult some of those ones are to take. I think to take it in your stride and then stick the laces through it is sometimes easier said than done. I thought some of Nisbet's general hold-up play yesterday was just a wee bit lacking. Some of the execution, he seemed to be taking, particularly in the second half, quite a lot of onus to kind of drift around. And the more I watch him as a footballer, and you know, obviously having the benefit to see him in the flesh this season, I think he's a fantastic kind of, I don't want to say poacher, because poacher is almost like a cheap term, but he is basically a guy who I think is a lot better inside the 12-yard box than he is outside of the 12-yard box. And bear with me a second. Box? What's that?
What's a 12-yard box?
18-yard box.
You said 12.
Did I say 12?
Are you getting confused with the penalty spot?
Did I say 12?
You didn't need to call it, but you wants to be a dick. All right, you'll pay for that.
Guys, it's my first day back at work after 2 weeks off. Come on.
I've paid enough for some shouts in this podcast. I'm picking up on everything.
Aye, Liam, didn't you worry? You're still having prayers every night that Mackey's gets his moon boot on.
I've got a tweet bookmarked to Mr. Wilson for January 27th that I'm just ready to just unleash on you. I didn't realise it until I was looking through my bookmarks on Twitter this morning when I was having scroll through. I was like, oh, I'm saving that one for a rainy day.
Oh no! Oh no!
So nah, I think I bear with me because the reference is going to feel probably a bit unfair because I think he's a better footballer overall. But there's something quite Jason Cummings-esque about some of his hold-up play, and I just think it's not that he doesn't try, but I just don't really think he's very good at playing that kind of lone striker role. And I know that's going to fucking be controversial and people aren't going to love that opinion, but I think what he's good at is being that kind of fox in the box. He is a natural finisher. He's got that outside of the boot finish. He's got the inside of the boot finish. He can head the ball. But Doidge is a better hold-up player.
See, I didn't think Nisbet was good yesterday, if I'm honest. I think he got better as the game went on. And I felt that coincided, funnily enough, when he played up front himself. But I don't think we went to him as quick as we did when he was up front himself. I felt like he stayed more central when we went to one up top because he had Cadden on one side, Boyle on the other side. And that's where his couple of chances came from with the when he tried to bend it to the far post. And then was there another one as well that he had? I want to say, but I would agree. Sometimes he just looked a little bit off it yesterday. I thought, I have to say in the first half, especially, I wasn't impressed with his work rate at all. I think Nisbet normally does put in the hard yards. Yesterday, I felt like, I don't know if it's annoying because at the game as well, I was saying let their centre halves have it, but there was a few times where him and Boyle were guilty for it. Their wide centre halves or wing backs were picking the ball up. And they were progressing 20, 30 yards up the pitch, and neither of the forwards were going to interact with them. And it's like, that's just creating overload after overload. And I don't think Nisbet got in front of the defenders very well yesterday when we did go long. And again, I didn't think Boyle was that great yesterday either, unfortunately. But I thought with the McGuinness chance, I think if Nisbet's given him a better cutback, McGuinness scores. If I'm honest, I think, but it's pulling hairs.
I want to jump in on that. I think that's quite a harsh reflection on this, but I do think he was poor yesterday. But I think not his hold-up play, but I think his link-up play normally goes quite understated. I actually think he's all right at passing the ball and keeping the ball moving and stuff.
I would agree.
So yeah, I'd give him more of a Griffiths link than a Cummings link, but Griffiths, I agree. I think he looks a lot more comfortable when he's got someone up top with him. But I think saying that he's Cummings level, I know that's not what you were saying. But
no, I'm not.
It's a harsh comparison. Yeah.
No, and I'm trying to find an appropriate player to compare him with, and Cummings probably isn't it. I think the other thing to say here as well is Lee Griffiths got good at some of that stuff much later on in his career. If you remember Lee Griffiths' first times at Hibs, his hold-up play was virtually non-existent. But if you look at the player he's become in later life, he has become much better at those facets of the game, because frankly, to get a game for Celtic at the level that they were playing at earlier on in his spell, he needed to be good at that stuff, and he was asked to be a lone striker. So look, all I'm saying about Nisbet is I think he's a very good football player. I think he's a very good finisher. I don't think he's the finished article yet, but the reality is very few players that come to Hibs in their early 20s are the finished article. So I think there's a lot of things to work on. I think the reality for him is, if he's going to get a big move away from Hibs to any club down south, that is going to be part of his game he's going to have to get better at, because he's going to be played as a lone striker, probably in the Championship in England, where the demands on you physically are at least equal to what they are here, but you'll be expected to do that probably more often than not against better centre halves.
Yeah. Do you feel like Hibs edged it on chances overall? Like we said, Nisbet had that chance late in the game. I said chance, like it was a great save from. It was a good save for Cadden. It's actually a really good effort from Nisbet. The one that stands out for me is the volley. I think he just doesn't realise how much time he's got.
He could have taken that down.
He's got so much. I don't think he's got. Don't get me. He connects with it so well, and if that hits the back of the net, then unbelievable. But, and I'm not gonna lie, at the game I thought it was a bit closer than what it was. Seen on reflection, it wasn't really that close. But I just think he's not realised the time that he's got there.
I personally think it's one of those moments where I think he's got the time to think, if this hits the back of the net, this is a goal that they talk about for years to come. Because if that goal goes in, and then we're doing the next Hibs Hearts preview, you say, "Oh, what's your favourite Derby goal?" Oh, but you can't know saying Nisbet's at Tynecastle. Like that would have been that good a goal if it went in. And I think when you're a striker like Nisbet, you want to get those goals under your belt.
I would agree. It's a chance, eh? Like when I seen it back on Sports Scene, I was like, fuck. Like you're talking there, Liam, about being inside the box and stuff. He was inside the 18-yard box, and he was the further. He had all the fucking that side of the park. You know what I mean? He could have brought it down and got a shot away comfortably, which was frustrating. And then sort of late on, Paul Hanlon had his whatever it was that Macy stopped for going on the back of net. I think on reflection, it was probably just going over the bar. And then we had Nisbet's shot late on, and McGuinness and Gogic both had effort straight at Gordon. But on reflection, draw about right, do you think?
I think it's a fair result, to be fair. If I'm being honest.
What about yourself, Liam?
Probably only just. I think the quality of the chances we had were superior to them. I think when you factor in the fact that it was a performance away from home as well, and both sides can feel pretty chuffed at a point. I think probably the Maroon half would be more pleased with the point than we would be, though, based on chances.
Well, no, but Liam, we celebrated after that draw. They booed because they're big boys and they don't need points at home.
Do me a favour, man.
Well, I was just gonna let's just have a wee segment about our pal Robbie Nielsen, Mr. Money Spinning Replay, Mr. Dundee United manager that was celebrating going to penalties against 10 men in a playoff and then proceeded to watch his team miss all 4 penalties in the shootout, claims, and for all intents and purposes, saying that Hearts have a better attitude than Hibs because Hibs had the audacity to clap their fans and the Hearts players were gutted not to win. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Hearts drew with us when Uchi scored late on, the Hearts fans were going fucking tits. Ali Mosturk scored late on to equalise. Hearts fans were going fucking tits at full time. Surely there's just got to be an acceptance, and I would say this from both fronts. If we draw 0-0 with Hearts at Easter Road at Christmas, New Year time, I think is it the 2nd of January maybe, we're not going to be happy coming out of the ground. The Hearts fans will probably be the happier of the bunch, no matter what way the game goes. I would say that tends to be the way it goes in a derby. So this fucking fake fucking pretense that some stupid Jambo Hearts lasses not even recorded anything on her phone. She might have just fucking recorded the stairs trying to say Hibs fans are doing a lappy on her. She needs to learn what a fucking lap is. And then Robbie Nielsen as well. It's just a fucking myth, isn't it?
I think that the reason that Hearts keep going up and down is genuinely the fixation on Hibs. They lower their standards to, if we beat Hibs once a season, we've had a successful season. And that's genuinely it. I actually think they've left the ground raging at the fact they've not beaten us, and it's really pathetic. Like if they beat Hibs 3 times in a season, Hibs finished 3rd and they got relegated, they would deem that a good season, and they would say we're the wee club. It's genuinely a problem that they need to get over, because obviously I want Hibs to win derbies, but they've got this weird obsession that derbies take prevalence over the running of a football club, and it's bonkers. And Nielsen's just fed into that with that stupid post-game interview, talking at his absolute arse. Idiot.
There is a sense of irony that they're like, oh, Hibs fans are buzzing with a draw, and then when someone talks to them about the start of their season, they're like, well, we've played 3 of the top 4, and we've no lost. It's like, oh, so you're happy with a draw as well then? Like, there's some, they're just a bunch of fucking fannies. Between Hibs fans celebrating a draw and Paul McGinn being supposed to be sent off, and Nick Walsh having crimes against refereeing, they've been in top fucking form in the last 24 hours. Like, anything more Cadden, any individuals or the derby as a whole, Liam, before we move on to next weekend's game?
No, because I think we'll touch on that in High Be the Week. I wanted to give a bit more about Chris Cadden, because I just thought to come into the team having played very little football in the last 9 months and putting a performance like that for best part 80 minutes, the energy he provided us, the width, just his ability to get on the ball and swing balls into the box from deep. I just think he for us will be. I think he was always going to be, but I think he for us will be a very, very big player this season if he can keep himself fit.
This is the one thing I would say about that. I think it's great that he gets the ball in early. Sometimes I just wish he would take the fullback on. There was a point in the second half, I think, where I think within the game you can see perfect examples. In the first half, he gets it in early, and Nisbet really should do better. In the second half, there was an occasion where he whipped it in early and it just got cleared at the front post. There was no really any Hibs played in the box. I think if he'd taken, and he had the fullback. I mean, I think he had them on post. If he'd taken another couple of touches, went to the byline, he probably could have got a better ball in. And I think hopefully that's something that'll come with more matches, like this sort of confidence to drive to the byline. But yeah, that's the one thing I did think yesterday, and even at times last season, he was maybe a wee bit early with the balls into the box. But as soon as you've mentioned High Be of the Week, Liam, is Chris Cadden your High Be of the Week? We'll do that now.
Nah, nah, he's not. Nah, my High Be of the Week's Paul McGinn. I just don't think there's any other option this week. Guy comes on for Scotland, does a job. Admittedly, when Scotland are under a bit of pressure against Austria, fills in, having had I think what you would probably describe as haters as a result of his call-up, and certainly a lot of doubters, and I thought he did a good shift for Scotland, and then he comes in, plays on the right of the back three for Hibs, and with Derby, brilliant 45 minutes, and then a pretty good second half as well. So Paul McGinn's my High Be of the Week.
Nice, yeah. And I think in reference to your haters, I know I think there's been enough in the Hibs support as well, but that absolutely pathetic boy over on the Hearts side of town is actually a fucking made on Twitter in the last week when you think about it. Paul McGinn isn't an international football player. I hate that shout. He is. Like, he played for his country by that is by very definition. Like, whether you like it or no, son. And then all these shouts post game in the last 24 hours as well. He has had a fucking mare like.
Specky.
Harry, speaking of Specky, Harry, who's your high of the week?
Well, because you didn't let me give my shout outs to players, I'll give them now. Two
Well,
guys have been
you
quite.
went about 75 tangents, mate.
Well, you'll be getting 75 strikes to the jaw, your bloody shaving jaw, if you keep that cheek up. Two players I've been quite critical of this season. I thought Porteous was absolutely fantastic. I think that was by far his best game of the season. I think he looked very comfortable whenever anything went in the air. There was a couple of passes I thought were a bit suspect, but you're always going to get that with Porteous. But I think if he keeps that level up, then the defense will be fine this season. I thought again, I said Newell.
Someone's back in NFL mode.
Mate, I'm free, in fantasy, man. Anyway, sorry. I thought Newell also had a very good game, but I'm going to do an absolute Liam. I'm going to take who I think is now favourite to be high of the week, because every time I pick who's the favourite to be high of the week, he inconveniently forgets to do the poll. I genuinely think I'm at 3 in a row on high of the week. So this time, who should have won it the last time, but Matt Macy, I thought, you kind of look past the big man. He kept Hibs in it as much as Gordon kept Hearts in it. The one save in particular was unbelievable. Go on, Matt Macy.
Yeah, well, I'll keep it simple. I'll go for Chris Cadden for all the reasons previously mentioned. I think they probably are the key outstanding choices from the weekend. I think Joe Newell was good though as well, and Paul Hanlon as well was good. And I think it was good to see Cadden, Newell, and Hanlon all do well coming back out of obviously injuries. Definitely. Like just to see them come back into the team and do well, there is always that worry, especially when they all come back together as well. I know it was a good performance overall, bit different. I was a bit disappointed all in all, if I'm being honest. I think we could have edged it. I know Harry, you think it was a fair result, but on another day, I think we can score a couple, and that's not. I don't want to be critical because we've not had an issue scoring goals this season. It's the first game that we've not scored. So look, we move on. We're still unbeaten, 5 games unbeaten, secondary league. It's not to be sniffed at, and we've not been outside the top 4 since before last season started. Seen that start kicking about. I think it's 43 games in a row that we've been inside the top 4 in the league. So consistent, which is important. So we have got St Mirren at home this weekend, Saturday, 3 o'clock. St Mirren again didn't win at the weekend. They were held at home to Dundee United. Dundee United, for me, looked like they edged it. Mark McNulty missed a sitter. He was running through 1-on-1, hit the ball off the post. A team that I'd tipped to do well this season, and they have sort of fell flat on their face. Harry, what are you expecting from Jim Goodwin's team on Saturday?
Yeah, have you seen the mad stats? No, something like 7 teams in the top flight haven't won a game. Five
teams haven't won a game.
That's mental. But St Mirren are one of them, eh?
Fucking searching for the fucking point you were trying to make here.
Are St Mirren one of them? They've never won a game yet.
I think they
may well be 3 draws or something.
So there's your point, Ewan. Silly. I forgot your question now. You distracted me.
St Mirren, what are you expecting?
Thank you.
Because obviously I expect you to do your homework.
At the start of the season, I was expecting St Mirren to be a very good team. I thought they made some good signings. The signings seem to have flopped. I think we all follow Carter's Corner, or whatever his name is, on Twitter, and he seems very displeased at the signings and transfer that they've made over the summer. I think they'll get it clicking at some point, because I thought they started last season off pretty poorly, but I don't think this is going to be the game for them. We've looked very good at home, and I think we're going to continue looking good at home when the fans are there. Hopefully we start seeing a bit more crowd. I think that the more momentum we get behind the team, the better they'll keep on playing. So I'm confident. I don't really have any doubts in my head, to be fair, that we're going to go out and win this, which is a good feeling to have.
What about yourself, Liam? Similar train of thought as Harry?
I think St Mirren have got that perennial problem they've had now for years of scoring goals. I think defensively they're a relatively solid team. I know they've signed kind of attacking reinforcements, but I don't think they've really done them any favours. So as long as St Mirren have been in the top flight, I think John Obika is the only guy who's even gone close to trouble in double figures, and I don't think he maybe even did get into double figures. I might be right in saying he only got maybe 8 or 9 league goals in his best season. So they don't score enough goals. Defensively, they're reasonably sound, and I think, I look at the sign of Power, for example. Getting another year out of him to give them a bit more kind of dig in the midfield. should allow some of their more creative players to get on and do things. Having said that, McGrath must have bagged a few goals from midfield last season, didn't he? Because everyone kind of tipped him for big things. But I think more than half of them were penalties. So
Yeah.
I don't have any ill will towards St Mirren whatsoever. But I think again this season, unless Eamon Brophy can find his shooting boots, I think they will be probably just on the wrong side of the top six. And I would expect, given their lack of kind of goal scoring prowess, to struggle against us. Having said that, I think they're maybe a slightly better team than the results suggest so far this season. Like 3 draws, I know we kind of pish at people talking about fine margins, but 3 draws, it is relatively fine margins. I think they'll be absolutely fine. They'll be safe. I think Ross County and Livingston are already, as we predicted at the start of the season, Ross County and Livingston are already looking like they're going to be cut adrift from the rest.
I would agree on that one. It's an interesting one with St Mirren. They just completely lack, just like you both nailed it. They just lack goals. Just completely lack goals. They've drawn their last 2-0. Before that, they got scudded 6-0 off Celtic. The week before that, they drew. They got beat at home at Hearts. They did actually score in that one, but it was late on. Hearts were 2-0 up at the point. And then on the opening day of the season, I'm sure they drew 0-0 as well. I'm just checking that right now. I'm sure it was 0-0 with Livy. No, 2-2. Sorry, actually, they drew away with Dundee. I'm not convinced that Jamie, what's his name, Curtis Main and Eamon Brophy are going to get you the goals that you need to have to be really successful. But like you say, that's back-to-back clean sheets, and that is probably going to be their strength. From a Hibs point of view, I would expect us to be able to take care of them fairly comfortably at Easter Road with 9 points out of 9 against them last season. I don't see any reason why that shouldn't continue. What would you be looking at sort of team-wise, Harry? If Jake Doyle-Hayes is available to come back in, do you think he will? And what does that mean for sort of shape formation? If we go back to 4-2-3-1, where does everyone fit in?
I think you essentially swap Scott and Cadden, and then you put Doyle-Hayes in. And you can probably work that formation somehow. So instead of having you put McGinn back to right back, and then you've got Boyle. So essentially, but can you work that? Is that a 4-2-3-1? That's what I've tried to make happen.
You'd be playing with a 3 off of, if you were taking out James Scott to bring.
I know, because then that pushes McGuinness up the pitch as well.
Yeah, so you'd essentially have a mid. You would just have either Boyle or Cadden on the left and one on the right. And
you stick Cadden on the left and then you let them swap over, because we've done that a few times at home this season. Murphy and Boyle at times were swapping over wings. So I think that the back four we have, I think the reason we've had so many, like obviously Motherwell was a bit of an anomaly, but the reason we've had so many defensive issues, I think, is because we've had 2 right-footed centre backs. So I think with Hanlon at the back, I feel very comfortable with the defence playing a flat back 4. So yeah, I think it's an easy fix.
So if Jake Doyle-Hayes isn't fit to come back in, Liam, what would you be looking at?
Maybe doing what I suggested and playing Cadden holding midfield, just to get him into the team, like playing him in a 4-2-3-1 as one of the sitters.
And who did you put him in for Scott?
Well, no. If
my midfield 3 would be McGuinness, Newell, McGuinness, Newell, and Cadden.
So you're just changing the system, not making any stuff. Okay. Yeah. Fair.
Yeah, I think if Jake Doyle-Hayes isn't fit to come back in, I would probably go with the same team but set up sort in the formation that finished the game with Cadden on the left. It would just mean that McGuinness was a bit deeper, but obviously I felt like against Livingston at home we went 4-4-2 more, which sort of just it was obviously McGuinness and Doyle-Hayes that day, but I think McGuinness and Newell just as a 2 with Scott and Nisbet up top, and I would just have Cadden or Boyle, like you say, sort of in that Murphy and Boyle role that we had that day. Do you think there would be any argument to change anything at the back? Like obviously I would say a couple of weeks ago there was a lot of cries for Chris Cadden to come in as the right back, but it'd be pretty harsh to drop Paul McGinn after the game that he just played.
I don't think after the game. I think after the games he's just played, I think he was very good for Scotland, and I think he was good against Livingston as well. So yeah. Any
argument to stay 3-5-2 potentially if Doyle-Hayes is like go back to sort of last season's formation, maybe with a midfield 3 and Newell, Doyle-Hayes and McGuinness, Boyle through the middle, and
feel like St Mirren are going to play a
Cadden
3-5-2, and I don't really want to match them up. As petty as that sounds, like I don't really want to be a team that matches St Mirren up. Like I'd rather we go and play our own game at Easter Road and try and get the overlap working for us. I feel like that's one of the main advantages you get from that 4-2-3-1 system is you get the full back bombing on beyond the inverted commas wide player. I think we want to use that, so we need to use the pitch as much as possible because they will try and turn it into a bit of a dogfight in midfield. They've got the players to kind of do that. Also quite looking forward to watching Ryan Porteous against Curtis Main. That's always good entertainment.
If you were to pinpoint one player in the St Mirren team, Harry, who do you think would be the biggest threat?
Definitely Jamie McGrath. I think when you've got a midfielder that can score, it's always difficult to match up against because obviously if you've got a goal scoring striker, you just stick a centre back on to annoy him the whole game. But yeah, I think with the midfielders we've got, Newell can do that job, but I think at times he's a bit inconsistent defensively. And I think that's definitely, I think Jake Doyle-Hayes is like very quietly and subtly a very good defensive player. I think it goes a bit under the radar just because of how good his passing and retaining the ball is. So I definitely, if we've got Doyle-Hayes in to match McGrath, I don't see any problems or threats from St Mirren at all, to be honest.
The other player for St Mirren, I think, is worthy of a shout out and maybe throw Eamon Brophy into that bracket. I know he's not been doing it recently, but he has at times been a pretty good goal scorer at this level. But the other one they've signed, who I think is quite interesting, is the boy Connor Ronan. They've signed on loan from Wolves. I was reading he had some pretty good reviews based on his performance on Saturday. I think he was substituted at one point in the game, but I think if you look at his CV and some of the clubs that he's played for whilst on loan at Wolves, I think he's a player who's maybe just shy of kind of breaking into that first team there and has gone out to get some more minutes, but is apparently a lovely balanced kind of technical footballer, quite an advanced sort of central midfield player. So I think he could turn out to be a good player. He's also Irish as well. Jim Goodwin loves signing Irish players. Look at that St Mirren squad; it's like 50% Irish. So I think he could in time become a decent player for them as well. And obviously Conor McCarthy at the back's good centre half. We've talked about him before because I think me and you were probably quite keen on us maybe having a look at him at one point in time. So
he's only just came back into the team as well. I know they sort of dropped him because I think he made it pretty clear that he wanted to move. I think the English team had maybe came in for him, and I think that was maybe his first start of the season against Dundee United. A player that always stood out for me for St Mirren, I think he got a really bad injury, was Kyle McAllister. He came off the bench at the weekend for Connor Ronan. I'm just looking at their stuff here. I don't know what he's done much, but I remember I think he was sort of a wide midfielder. He always sort of stood out. To be fair, him and McGuinness I felt were probably the best two St Mirren players around that time. But I think he's had an absolute brutal injury, not too dissimilar from what McGuinness got at St Mirren around about the similar period of time, I think, as well. So that would maybe be one to keep an eye on. And just you do look at their team and you think that is a good defence for the Premiership. I would think players like Tanzer and Shaughnessy, Fraser, like decent players. So I don't think it'll be easy. But I think Hibs will get the job done. I'd like to think we'll keep another clean sheet, which I think will be really important. And we've had 3 clean sheets out of 5 already this season, as much as we obviously were worried about the defence with the 2 previous away games prior to the weekend. But hopefully make that 4 and really start getting the back door locked up to allow us to really go and I think we could pump a team. I'm not convinced that St Mirren are going to set up to be that team. But if we can keep things tight in the back, then you never know. What about our score prediction from you, Harry?
Just one question I've got before the score predictions.
Okay,
do you think this would be a good game to give Wood some time, or would you say you'd rather just play cautious?
I think you just don't. I don't see the point in changing Hanlon and Porteous.
Potentially McGinn as well. If Eddie can play it right back.
No. I just.
Because have we not got the game midweek against Dundee United following that?
Yeah, so the
next
3 games have got. Yeah, no, you're right. So it's St Mirren this weekend, then Dundee United away on the Thursday night in the Cup, which FYI, I think there's been a email go round to away season ticket holders to say that the tickets are only going to be going on sale through Dundee United directly, and they're going to be charged at 18 quid for an adult, which is not terrible. Not terrible. I just seen that kicking about Facebook and Twitter and stuff today. So for anyone that's curious about tickets, keep an eye on Dundee United's Twitter and website and stuff like that. And then we've got St Johnstone at home. So we've got 2 league games at home, 2 very winnable league games at home coming up with the Dundee United League Cup game in between. And I wouldn't be in a rush to answer your question to bring Nathan Wood in any of the games, to be honest.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Liam? Nathan Wood?
All right, nah.
Cool.
I mean, I hope he does well, but I think there's got to be kind of an injury or a severe loss of form for him to come in. He's centre defensive cover, isn't he? He's a loan. I don't think we're obligated to play him, so I would be sticking with what's working at the moment, to be honest.
Aye, so back to yourself, Harry.
Yep, prediction. I think it's going to be a routine 3-0. I don't think that St Mirren are going to be particularly terrible. I think we're going to score early and just kind of ride the game out. Maybe get another goal before half time. We'll get a goal at like the 70th minute. Don't know who's going to score. Give a mixed bag. Kyle come off the bench and get the third. First competitive goal.
It was interesting that it was after the team. I don't know if he maybe pulled up in the warm up or something. It was as we were walking to the game. He got pulled off the bench and Gullen got put on.
Oh really? I missed that. I just didn't think he was on the bench at all. That's interesting.
No,
yeah, it's weird that Gullen wasn't on the bench though, considering how weak the bench really was.
Yeah, well, especially when they had McGregor and Wood. Like, do you need 2 centre halves on the bench?
Who knows?
Weird.
It was the one just totally going back to the weekend. There is a bit. I mean, it just wonders if we'd started with Gogic, you would have Scott on the bench to bring on. But we went over that enough. Liam, score prediction for this weekend.
You love a bit of procrastination, don't you?
I know.
What if?
I
I think it will be a bit tighter than that. I think it's going to be 1-0. I think they'll be difficult to break down. I think they'll frustrate us, but I think we'll find a way through, and I think we'll 1-0 win.
Who's scoring it?
Martin Boyle didn't score, so he's due a goal. But then Kevin McGinnis didn't score at the weekend, so he's also due a goal because they're scoring basically at the rate of 1 a game. I'm going to go with Martin Boyle.
What about yourself, Harry? You only give us 1 goal scorer out of 3.
Well, to be fair, I thought the other 2 went without saying, so it's obviously going to be McGinnis and Boyle.
I'm going to go for 2-0 Hibs in between you two for similar reasons to Harry. I think it'll be a pretty straightforward afternoon. I hope it's a straightforward afternoon. I hope we're not here on Monday. I hope it's noted as similar to the Livy game, or if it can be even better than that, the Ross County game. You know what I mean? Like, these are the games that under Jack Ross we've done really well in. We tend to win these games, and I don't see any reason why we won't do that fairly comfortably at the weekend. Goal scorer wise, I will go for Kevin Nisbet and Joe Newell.
Oh,
because Joe Newell
a good shot, an incorrect one. Nice.
I went for an obvious one, and one that's never in a Mumpy Sunday is going to come in. But no, yeah, that about wraps us up. Like I say, we'll be back next Monday, previewing the Dundee United League Cup game, reviewing the St Mirren game, and we'll probably throw in the St Johnstone league game into that one as well. So it'll be a bit of a chunky one, and I think just an FYI, we will try to get back on top of the Twitter game before the game, and we'll get High B of the Week back up and running and stuff like that. Seeing as Harry's on a fucking rant about no getting it the last 3 weeks because we forgot to get it. But aye, we'll get all that out during the week. So thanks once again for listening. We'll be back next week. Cheers.
Cheers.